This morning I'm going to be replacing the belts on my 2011 Subaru Legacy with a 2.5 liter engine. It has two belts on it, and this one is the easy one. This is just your usual micro V belt, but no worries with that. The other one is this stretch fit Gates belt, and this one requires a special tool which you have here, and Gates makes this but you can also buy an aftermarket one. I got mine off of Alibaba. I think it was 10 or 20 bucks. And the reason I'm showing this before we go out to the car is just to, any of the videos I've seen already, kind of skip over this part, or you can't see it very well. Getting this onto the crankshaft, it just seems kind of flimsy for the amount of stretching we're expecting this thing to do to get over it. And so what it does is it goes onto the crankshaft, and you see this little ramp thing here. And when this is up there, and you've got the top is on the alternator, and as it's being fed down there, the belt is going to be sliding onto it. That way it'll get pretty tight. This is the way that it goes onto the crankshaft. Again, we'll go in more detail when we get on there. It's just these two bits. The other bits that you see over here are pretty simple, and again, we'll go over that. But here, this is going to be pulling it onto the crankshaft through this little ramp, this little plastic bit. Okay, so we'll see that when we go out to the car. Here we are out at the car, and this is a 2011 Subaru Legacy, and with a 2.5 liter engine. And here we have the belts that we're going to change. I only have one hand, so for those things that need two hands, I'm going to have to just put the camera down. So we got two belts. This is the regular V-rib belt, which comes off normally, and then the one on the back here, the one that's running the AC compressor, is the one that is a stretch belt. And that's the one that we're going to use that special tool to get on. So first thing is to take this thing off. So these little things, you just turn them, and then you pop them up. And so you can just do that right here with the screwdriver, and then they come right up and out. We'll do both of those and take that off. All right, now that we've got the little plastic cover off, we're going to loosen up the alternator bolt here. It's a 12 millimeter. And then this is the bolt that will move the alternator down so that we can loosen it enough to get this belt off of here. So that involves loosening this one and then turning this one so that the alternator will start to move down. But again, this one first, then this one, then this one up here. So having loosened this one and that one, and then you just start turning this one, and the alternator starts moving down. We get it loose enough so that we can just pop the belt off, just like that. Okay, comes off, and I'm pretty sure this has probably been on here since new. It's a 2011, we're now 2023. The car only has 65,000 kilometers on it, though, because I am in Japan and people don't drive very far here. But I'm going to say that that's about time for that thing to go. And the next one here is the stretch fit belt. And so really the best way to get this off is to cut it. So I'm just going to get some cutters, and we'll cut the thing right off of there. Just want to be careful as we do this. It's under tension, obviously. Stand back or wear some eye covers. I'm gonna need both hands to get at this. Sorry. Okay, that one's off of there, and it's really not that bad. Not seeing a lot of cracks, some wear to the outside there, but really wasn't that bad. But that's okay. It's been long enough. I don't know the history, so I'm taking that one off, and we will now get this one put on. So the first part of this is using this part of the kit. Okay. First thing we do is pop this onto the AC compressor. Okay. Like right there. Let's make sure that the grooves are in place. Not a biggie at the moment, but let's just go ahead and pop that there. And then this, you see it's got a little hook right there, and you got these two notches. So what we're gonna do, bottom notch goes in the bottom hole, and then we've got to tighten that bolt up and make sure that the belt is under that little lip right there. So that's what I'm going to do, and we'll come back. We've got the belt on here. It's being held back by this thing. Eventually we're going to make sure that the belt is in those grooves there, but I just want to explain this thing for a moment, okay? So as I said to start with, this is the ramp that's going to help the belt to go on there. Forget the belt for a moment. We'll put that where it needs to go in a moment. But this is going on here, okay? Like that, okay? That way round. And then we're gonna take this other part, and you've got the long part, which goes over in that groove there, and the little bit in the middle. And if you look down in here at the crankshaft, you'll see 4 holes. So the short end of this needs to go into one of these holes. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. And on top of that, to make it even more fidgety, the belt is gonna need to be in a position where it's under this long bit. So once this goes through here, this bottom side here of the belt is going to have to be under this part, okay? It's not as hard as it looks, but it is while you're holding a camera, so I'll come back. Okay, this thing seems so flimsy, it doesn't seem like it's going to do the job, but angle this down here. This is essentially the way you want it to be. I got the short end in that hole. I've got the ramp thing is what I'm going to call it, is right there. I've got the bottom part of the belt is under the long piece of the metal, and the rest of it is hanging off there. And I'm going to now put a socket onto this bolt, and we'll start to turn the crankshaft, and that will then feed the belt onto the pulley. Total newfound respect for those people who already did this video, because I needed basically 3 hands in order to get this thing on here. I had to hold this thing in place. This thing I had to loosen up a bit because this thing was being held too far back against the alternator, so I loosened that thing up, got it all in there. Then I'm cranking this thing clockwise, trying to hold this thing in place. I'm almost done. One more push, and then this thing is going to come off of here, and it's probably going to fly off of there when I do it too. So I'll come back when it's all done. So I've got everything off of here now. I took off the guide clamp and the ramp. You have to be careful once this thing comes around full circle. That ramp thing in the metal that's holding it in place, right at about here, it'll loosen up a little bit. If you keep going, it's going to keep pulling that down. So right as it loosens up that bar, you got to pull that out. And then it's off of there. Crank it around a little bit more. You got to make sure that the 4 grooves are in where they need to be. And then there's no adjusting on that. So now we're just going to put back put on a new belt for the alternator on the front one here. This new belt on. And I'm going to tighten this up, which will push the alternator up. As soon as I got that to the point where I like the tension on it, which will probably be giving it about a 1/2 inch stretch right there, then I will tighten this off, and then also don't forget to tighten that one. There we go. So we've got new belts on here, got the new front one. Like I said, tighten up this one first, get it to the tension that you want on there. It's generally about a 1/2 inch in the middle there. And then you tighten this one up, that'll lock it in place, and then tighten up this one over here. And then you're done. The last Subaru I did this with, I ended up changing it because the clutch on the AC had gone out. So if you think your AC clutch is going out, you might want to get a new one of those, because if this goes out anytime soon, I'm going to have to replace this. You cannot get this thing off of here without cutting it, so you have to cut it off and put a new one on there. Okay, so then we put this thing back on here. Little tip on these: make sure that that screw is out the whole way. Oops. Geez. Anyway, you want to put that back in there. I'll go find that one. Here's the other one. the only way to get this thing to crunch together enough to put it in the hole is to make sure that the screw's out. So I'm gonna go do that now. I hope this was helpful.